Hey y'all, it is the first Friday of 2024. I wasn't sure what time I'd be able to get down here. The rain is predicted to, uh, first it was in the afternoon, then it was like 5 o'clock, now it's tonight. But so the winter goes here in Mid-South Tennessee. It could be snowing after all. And although that would be super beautiful to show you, right now it's kind of nice that I don't have to deal with that. Um, yeah, so welcome. I'm Val, and I appreciate you. Today, we have our moments of shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? And I am really trying to make this a weekly routine for myself of if I could, I would, and spend more time in nature, right? So you're going to have some sort of if I could, I would. And my encouragement with this weekly series is to get people outside, to disconnect, to reconnect. I just stumbled upon an article, I don't know, it was just recommended when I opened up a tab on the browser. But it was, I think it was in The Guardian. It was just talking about how social media is like designed to be addictive and how important it is for us to kind of like put things aside. Um, I've also been editing some videos for some other things with my artist residency and interviews that I've done with them, and realized like in moments I have not turned my phone to airplane mode, and like the text messages and the notifications will buzz. So I've been editing sound, but those are some things that are like in the article that talk about like you know the 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 notifications and the pinging and all of those things kind of like build us up to anticipation, and we're always kind of living at this high level of like anxiety basically, right? Because we're always like anticipating that we have to um, accomplish something or answer something, or like the alarm is going to go off or whatever it might be. um, so this is my weekly kind of attempt to combat that. Just tossing my gloves there on the ground. Um, and the should, coulda, woulda, I just was preparing for something else. And, when YouTube first started and people posted videos 10, 15 years ago or whatever it was, and there's like 2 million views or however many million, they're just like a one time person and there's a lot of views. So, how do we navigate in this like crazy world and, um, just have more moments of just feeling human and connected to the planet, and our place in the world wherever we live. So I'm going to walk a little bit because we sometimes sit by um, this tree, down tree, and I think there's some bugs on me, um, with mushrooms. And my goal is to read a little bit from this book until I run out. Um, yeah, so lots of things happening in the new year, and I have no idea if people are finding this, if the algorithms are, you know, sharing it with people. But if I can make an impact on one person and that kind of ripple effect that can have throughout one life and so on and so forth, then that's great. Um, so you can kind of see behind me the trees that are downed and like the way that the color of the ground is different. So this is a river that definitely changes on a regular basis, um, and with like winter, winter, if it does snow, winter snows melting. So there have been times where this river does flood, and it's probably 15, 20 feet higher than where I am standing. Um, so be careful out there. Things, my mantra is kind of like, be prepared, but things things, the ebb and flow of like what we can learn from like water, can kind of knock us off our feet. And sometimes we might swallow too much water, we get knocked off our feet, and we've got to recover. I've been using that metaphor a lot. All right, let's get into some poetry and just look at the water. A nice reflection, even though it's a gray, dull winter day. We're in section 2, mindfulness. Ironically, ended the last week in the first section. And I'm just kind of going in order. This first one is like 2 or 3 pages. It's talking about snow. Okay. This is by Billy Collins. Shoveling Snow with Buddha. Billy Collins, 1941, still alive as the publishing of this book. In the usual iconography of the temple or the local walk, you would never see him doing such a thing, tossing the dry snow over a mountain of his bare round shoulder, his hair tied in a knot, a model of concentration. Sitting is more his speed, if that is the word for what he does or does not do. Even the season is wrong for him. In all his manifestations, is it not warm or slightly humid? Is this not implied by his serene expression, that smile so wide it wraps itself around the waist of the universe? But here we are, working our way down the driveway, one shovelful at a time. We toss the light powder into the clear air. We feel the cold mist on our faces, and with every heave we disappear and become lost to each other in these sudden clouds of our own making, these fountain bursts of snow. This is so much better than a sermon in church, I say out loud, but Buddha keeps shoveling. This is the true religion, the religion of snow and sunlight and winter geese barking in the sky, I say, but he is too busy to hear me. He has thrown himself into shoveling snow as if it were the purpose of existence, as if the sign of a perfect life were clear driveway. You could back the car down easily and dive off into the vanities of the world with a broken heater fan and a song on the radio. All morning long, we work side by side, me with my commentary and he inside his generous pocket of silence, until the hour is nearly noon, and the snow is piled high all around us. Then I hear him speak. After this, he asks, can we go inside and play cards? Certainly, I reply. I will heat some milk and bring cups of hot chocolate to the table while you shuffle the deck, and our boots stand dripping by the door. Ah, says the Buddha, lifting his eyes and leaning for a moment on his shovel before he drives the thin blade again deep into the glittering white snow. Is it snowing where you are right now? Is it beautiful before the snowplows come and be loud and aggressive and make it dirty? Let's do one more. This is by Wallace Stevens, 1879 to 1955. The Snowman. One must have a mind of winter to regard the frost in the boughs of pine trees crusted with snow, and have been cold a long time to behold the junipers shagged with ice, the spruces rough in the distant glitter of the January sun, and not to think of any misery in the sound of the wind and the sound of a few leaves, which is the sound of the land full of the same wind that is blowing in the same bare place. For the listener who listens in the snow and nothing himself beholds, nothing that is not there and nothing that is. Can you hear the water rippling so softly? Let's walk back that way on our route up to the bluff up there. This tree landed here, gosh, I feel like it was 2 years ago with one of the storms. And there's another tree over there, just kind of washed all the rocks out of the way. And I love picking up flat rocks. Whole ecosystem is starting to yeah, you can see how high some of the water has been because of all like the little 6 branches that are getting caught in here. Get my gloves. It's definitely warmer this afternoon than it was this morning. There was frost, and it's going to be warmer this weekend. Sorry, I'm wobbling. I love how clear this water is. I wonder if that's coming through on the video. And notice the way the swirls happen. So I've mentioned before, if you've seen in my other videos, that I am a certified forest therapy guide. This is not technically a forest therapy walk. If that interests you and you want more information about it, please let me know. But one of the key things is, just as we're going along, notice what you're noticing. So, for example, all the bubbles and the way that the water is churning and the patterns on the top level surface. I'd like to invite you to notice all the different textures of the rocks and the leaves, and the organic material as we walk back. Moving from close to the water and all of these pebbles, these get washed away pretty quick. And then lots of bigger rocks get deposited down here. And in the summertime, a lot of these weeds kind of get washed away. And you can again see like how a lot of the branches have been like washed up and like plopped in some of these trees that are tree shrub things that are growing. It's a little bit easier if I go this way. So my goal weekly is to notice the subtle changes and just share a little bit of nature with you. Maybe you live in a city and you can't quite get out. Maybe you live in a different terrain and you want to check out this area of Tennessee. Maybe you're a science person. Maybe you have kids. Notice the color of the rocks and the moss. Maybe someone you know has an accessibility that can't walk down into a place like this. If you want to share this with them, that would be cool. You can see how the water will come this direction, and basically this section here on the right becomes an island, or it floods enough that the water covers the whole thing. Just depends. Let me come up. The quiet, placid, with a little ripple from probably a fish, in contrast to the other side that flows all the time. It's not the prettiest, but there's beauty in the deterioration, and that there's a term for that in Japan called wabi-sabi. I feel like we live in a world where everything is landscaped, and the people have got their leaf blowers and all the landscaping companies, and everything's kind of controlled and cleaned up. But when we look at what nature does, sometimes nature will clean itself, basically, or shift and change, and without that human need to kind of keep everything cosmetically green and no leaves. That drove me crazy when I worked at the universities where I worked, and it would be constant leaf blowers and constant beautification, because they were selling a product and they wanted the families that were paying thousands and thousands of dollars for their adult children to attend to feel like they're paying for something, right? So it's all this beautification, Disneyification of things, and I don't know, kind of got sick of that. So here I am, out in a sort of wilderness. This area is called the Western Highland Rim. I learned that through a naturalist class I took in 2020. So that basically means we're in kind of mid-south region. This is considered the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and the features, are kind of the geology, where we have sandstone, limestone, and then obviously the river watershed. You can see some of the red dirt on the walk, and then when we go up to the bluff area, I love looking at the roots and the moss. I also encourage you to look up, stretch. We look down at our feet and our phones so much. Even though the sky is gray, there's cloud patterns that are interesting. And we've walked by these quite a bit every week. It's like a Stairmaster. There are apparently caves along the river route. I've heard. Don't have any cave really here, but that is a feature as the water will kind of carve out spots in the way that the limestone is like layered. It's pretty cool. Any budding geologists out there? Leave the leaves. You do still get lightning bugs here because of the leaves. Okay. You can kind of see layers of colors. Okay, let's go over to the bluff. Usually lose my breath after walking up the hill. Long, long time ago, the water washed this out, and probably a mile over that way. I love the subtlety of those leaves. Again, just for reference, we were over there by the mushrooms on that log there. Yeah. It's beautiful out. If you are an artist or a writer or someone who likes to knit or with a group of friends and you want to spend some time out here, that is an option. Let me know and maybe we'll be able to do this in person one day. Well, enjoy your first weekend of 2024. I'm going to go upload. Thanks and subscribe.